Welcome to this service. First Sunday of the new year. Good to meet your friends. So glad you tuned in. You're online. Join us. If you're able, we invite you to come join us in person. This is the house of God. Place where you can come and experience this for yourself. Right now, I invite you to join us in Sunday morning worship service. That's beginning in just a few minutes. Happy New Year to you. God bless you.
Oh, yeah. Living it up now. Great way to start the new year.
I think actually, we started coming in, maybe 8.
Yeah.
That is a lot.
Brian, you're ashamed to say that.
See, if I'm changing.
I know.
What's that one? That one is from, that one is 17. I thought that one's this. No, you're talking about thermostat. It's 17.
Yeah, that was vibrating, it's warm.
Oh, that's
weather,
true.
you know.
I should have worn something fancy.
I mean,
Yeah.
overnight. Yesterday I was wearing shorts and a t-shirt.
Oh, yeah, it was amazing.
I don't know though, I kind of prefer this because that warm weather. It seemed
I
like
took
there
a
was
3-hour hike
haze.
yesterday. I wish
Yeah,
it was
it
the
was
same
kind of
temperature.
Well,
Something in
What
there.
time was it yesterday?
Yeah,
It was 77.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I remember that, yeah.
Yeah.
What should change, 80 degrees rock is what they said.
Wow.
Yeah.
But it was definitely warmer.
What is it at your house? Mine's around 27.
Oh, I give you the look before I came.
Yeah.
It's cold.
Yeah, that's true.
I went to yoga this morning and I wore my winter coat. So.
Good morning. Welcome to Unity of Boerne. We're going to start this morning here. We're going to stand. We're going to sing something, Tom. What are we singing?
I believe.
It's right there on your.
Joy song.
Joy song number 141. I see abundance everywhere. All right, let's go.
Okay. I see abundance everywhere. With supply beyond compare. 'Tis ours to use and to enjoy. His gift to us without alone. Prosperity, prosperity. I know my own shall come to me. Attend to children, joy and peace, good health and wisdom and degree.
mighty this morning, huh?
Yeah, right.
What a difference a day makes. So we got 40 or 50 degree difference here.
Just 50.
Crazy, crazy, crazy. A couple announcements for you this morning. I was going to tell you to take a day to work, but I can't find them yet. So as soon as we locate them and put them on the back desk there, we'll see what happens there. I want to let you know that Jay is off next week, and G. Brooks King is going to be here. Been here many times, really good speaker. I think it'll be a good service. We are looking for volunteers, so here's what we need. I put this in the newsletter. I'm not sure if everybody saw that. Ann Gully is going off the board in February, and that leaves us with 3 people on the board, so that's kind of our minimum. And so we're looking for a couple of board members. So it's monthly board meetings, which are done by Zoom. Doesn't take a lot of time, maybe an hour and a half is the usual board meeting. And it's a good way to serve the church and have a say in how things get run, and a good thing to do. Worship assistants, we could use another one or two maybe. You don't even have to think. It's all written here. If you'd like to, every week you get a script here to sit here and read. Worship assistants, let's see. Daily word readers, there's a sign-up sheet on the back. We're trying to get as many people as we can, and not have the same people always read the daily word. It's a good way to sort of share yourself with the congregation, let people get to know you. And we could also use somebody to watch over the kitchen, which is like, do we have plates, do we have forks, do we have cups, things like that for all of our pop-ups. So if any of those sound like something you want to do, let me know. I will tell you that all of our online classes and meditations are all the same. I'm going to leave those for you to look in your order of service. You can always get login information on our Facebook page and also on the website. Did I miss anything? Anybody has anything?
We start a new Sunday school book next week.
Next week? New book next week? Is it been picked?
Rick, you help, can you show us the book?
Rick, the book that we're going to start.
All right. Anyway, you don't have to necessarily read the, ahead, or even you can come in at any time. That's not, you don't have to have the book read ahead of time. So come whenever you can. All right, we're going to move on, I believe, with the reading of the daily word.
Anyway, good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
As we quietly and gently prepare for the reading of the daily word, we remember that we are in the spirit with millions of daily word readers in churches throughout the world. The Christ candle is lit as a reminder of the Spirit of God within all of us, which we call the Christ within. The word for today is clarity, and the affirmation, time spent communing with God gives me clarity. When I gaze toward the heavens on a moonlit night, I expect to see twinkling stars and constellations. But if I use a telescope, I can see details with much greater clarity. This example could describe my spiritual life as well. I may go about my day mindful of my blissful feelings and kinship with all the people. These things and more are the fruits of my faith. But I find clarity during times of intentional contemplation. When I meditate upon the truth, I feel the presence of God fill my consciousness and touch my heart. This clarity informs my thoughts, words, and actions, bringing my faith to vivid life. The scripture comes from 1 Corinthians 13:12. For now we see in the mirror, dimly, but then we will see face to face. Now I know only in part, then I will know fully, even as I have been fully known. Again, the affirmation is, time spent communing with God gives me clarity. My name is Linda, and I thank you all for joining us in worship today.
Thank you, Linda.
Thank you, Linda.
Rick,
foundations of new beginnings. I release everything that no longer serves me and make way for an abundance of good which is mine right now in this moment. I live in loving anticipation of every good and wonderful thing. So it is.
All right, we're going to stay standing for a minute. We're going to do our celebration song. That's number 222.
Number 222, reminding us that our life begins anew every day. My life, oh, my life begins for me today. The world before me lies. The yesterdays have passed away, no more to cause a sigh. Before me lies the bright today, all blessings in its whole. And I rejoice to find life's way and sing the joys untold. Today for me begins anew, a life that holds for me all that is good and real and true. Its blessings now I see. I look no longer to the past, or wait for future days. For with today my lot is cast, its present joys I praise.
Very good. We'll stay standing for a minute. We're going to do our morning prayer. We do that together.
Unity of Boerne is a vibrant, loving, spiritual community,
providing a sacred space for personal growth. We honor and celebrate the Christ within all people.
Please be seated. Except for somebody I need to bring you the prayer box. Jim, looks like Jim's going
Good morning. If you have prayer requests that you haven't filled out yet, there is a place for that in the bulletin, and we'll wait for you to fill them out. If you have placed it in here, we're going to go ahead and pray over them. I said the only kind of prayer that Unity and New Thought affirms is answered prayer. Really, that's the only kind of prayer there is around the world. There are people who try to divide up the requests, the supplications, naming prayer, different things, supplicative, and etc. But we know that prayer is the language of the heart, and our lives are really in prayer. So when we bless with our collective love right now, when we bless these requests, I want you to remember how powerful you are and how loving you are, and we send that to those requests, that presence of those requests that are represented in this body. Infinite presence, we give thanks for your being our ground of being. We know that you are the author of every good and perfect thing. It only awaits our recognition, and we recognize the very best right now. Be with those who have cares and concerns that are represented by the prayers in this box, as well as those that have joys and celebrations. We know you are with everyone, omnipresent, omniscient, all the time. We affirm that now. We give thanks for that now in abundance. And so it is. Amen.
So today happens to be Celebration Sunday. I know we're small today, but hopefully we can celebrate Sunday. Birthdays, anniversaries, you've been traveling, you clean the house. Oh boy. Oh boy, I got one. Thank God, Miss Ann. Yeah. Oh my gosh, the pressure has come. Alright. Oh my gosh.
Wow.
Alright. Very good. Your name?
And Gully.
And Gully, what are you celebrating?
My grandson had his 5th birthday on the 28th, so that's it, my youngest grandson.
Awesome.
Huh?
Is he here?
No,
Where?
yeah, he lives in San
In San
Antonio,
Antonio.
yes.
All right, your name, sir.
My name is Rick.
Rick, what do you celebrate? Get a manly one, would you?
I'm trying to get them all. That's beautiful.
That's good,
Wow.
perfect.
Good catch. I'm greedy.
I just want to say how happy I am to be here in this new year. And the years just keep coming, can't stop them. It's like birthdays,
Yeah.
and it's great. Thank you.
Your name, young lady.
I am Corona DeMars.
Mars, what are you celebrating?
So I just got back from a really fabulous cruise to the Galapagos.
Oh.
I love animals, and you can't walk anywhere without looking and not trying to trip over an iguana. And I was dive bombed by seals when I was snorkeling.
Oh.
And I got all giddy when I saw these penguins that were 2 feet away. It was amazing.
Every time I see that, I say that's got to be a place to go. You and I
it's
got to talk.
fabulous, fabulous.
Yeah, how long were you there?
The cruise was 8 days, and we stayed in Quito 2 days on either side. It was really great.
Awesome. Love it. Your name?
My name is Ann.
And what do you
I want to celebrate what Kareem was celebrating.
Yeah, me too.
I like that. I am just celebrating the new year. This is my favorite time of the year is when we're starting over again. And believe it or not, I'm going to celebrate a warm church because I remember when our only heat, and we had no air, was a wood-burning stove that sat right there. And you talk about it being cold in there sometimes. It was pretty cold. But we've come a long way.
We have.
So,
Awesome.
that's it.
Yay. Hold your hands up to these people, wave your fingers, say, we honor your celebrations.
We honor your celebration.
We are sure the best is yet to come.
Sure is. Yes.
You can put it back, but you got to take it when we go. Is everybody all right with the temperature? You hot?
It's hot.
Not to me.
Not to me.
All right, no
Sorry.
fighting.
I guess it's maybe colder up front.
Yeah. Yeah, 74
Yes.
as opposed to
Oh, here's the guitar, okay?
86.
Help you turn it on. So, today, I picked a Chris Tomlin song, and for those of you who don't know who that is, he's one of the burgeoning group of Christian faith artists out there. And it just seemed to touch me, and so I thought it might be the right message today, going with Jay's message. So this is called Gifts from God, and you'll notice that the words are slightly different in a couple of places. You're not expected to sing. But y'all may join in on the hallelujahs at the end. Y'all think that okay? Back when I was a kid, all gifts from God only came from church. Now that I live, the more I learn, it's not always the way it works. Sometimes you don't see it till you're looking back. You don't get to what you thought you had to have, because he had a better plan than the one you had. Yours didn't work out, and aren't you glad? But when you take a look around, it ain't hard to find. Everybody's got get hard, a little joy of heart when the daylight comes. Where do you think that comes from? That's gifts from God. Oh yeah, it makes you thankful for the hills that we climb, for the waves that we ride, for the lows and the highs and the wrongs made right, for the songs we sing, for the dreams we dream. It makes you thankful for everything. When you take a look around, it ain't hard to find. Everybody's got the things that money can't buy. If the people you love are sitting right beside you, I say you gotta lie. The best things in life are from God's own hand, like a raising kids on a piece of land. Little piece of mind when the day is done. Where do you think that comes from? That's gifts from God. Yeah, you know that's gifts from God. Hallelujah, every day is a gift from God now. Hallelujah, every day is a gift. Hallelujah, every day is a gift from God. Hallelujah, every day is a gift. Let's open our presents now.
Good morning
Good morning.
and Happy New Year. When I was thinking about this message about 2 months ago, because I'd like to plan a little bit ahead, I thought about how can we embrace, what can we do to embrace the newness of the moment when sometimes it doesn't seem all that new, especially when we're going through things that tend to have a continuance. We all know that we're now in the second year of what we call a pandemic, and we're making our way, matriculating through different changes. But we are all here, and we are healthy, and I'm going to talk about enjoying the present and being happy. When I talk about unwrapping the present, you may think that I meant a clever play on words about the present moment. And I do, but there's one thing that's just as important, if not more important than the present moment, and that is the present, the gift that you are to yourself and to all of us. And it's said that familiarity breeds contempt. I don't know if I put it that strongly, but we're so familiar with ourselves that I think we sometimes forget that we are a gift to be unwrapped or unpacked or explored throughout the course of our lives. We're born into a system that largely tells us how to think, how to believe, how to obey, how to fit in, how to conform, how to be part of the system. But then we hear people talk about encouraging individuality. It seems like we're caught in a duality from the very beginning as children, where we walk certain roads that are so many times predetermined by the ones that love us, by the ones that have raised us, our caretakers, whatever it may be. We pretty much have an idea of what we should and shouldn't do and what we are, even if we haven't had anywhere near the years to discover it yet. But I have found that it's never too late in life to unwrap the gift of yourself. You are a gift. And this new year, as we stake a claim to new beginnings, I'd like to remind you once more of what the truth about you is and what you can do with yourself if you can do one very crucial thing. And that is to drop the ideas that you've had about yourself, especially those that limit you, and especially question those that you carry about yourself, the concepts you've carried about yourself for a long time. So many times we limit ourselves. We don't need the rest of the world to tell us. We do it ourselves. And sometimes when we're doing it ourselves, those voices that tell us we can't sound very much like people that have been in our lives. I don't know about you, but I know that the words that I have heard that have limited me sound like something that has happened in my past that may have been unhealed. See, people say, well, isn't it selfish to be thinking about yourself all the time? I say no. Thinking about yourself and how you can be more of the gift that you are to the rest of us enhances all of us. Now, we all know selfish people who tend to walk through life. They don't tend to walk through life, not seeming to care about others and being very self-centered. That's not what I'm talking about. This morning I'm talking about unwrapping the gift that you are, the present that you are, by a process of cutting away those things that are extraneous to you, or could be if you allow them to be. A limiting idea that says, I am. Do you realize that when you say I am, those are the words of creation? In the metaphysical traditions, we affirm the words I am are creative because they are followed by an idea or an opinion or a statement or a fact that you believe about yourself. So if you say, I am not very good at this, why? Why is that? Because you decided, or because you believe somebody who told you that? Or you believed a group of somebody who told you that? And especially this new year, as we're starting, as Ann said, all over again, it's bright, shiny, and new. I'd like for you to think about the concepts that you carried about yourself for so long, and what you can do to unwrap the gift that you are even further. Some of us have been on a multi-year process of doing this, and some of us, especially those who tune in, have just discovered these principles, these ideas, and wondering how to work with them. I would like you to know that our principal problem that I see in becoming all that we can be is forgetting those who told us we can't, forgetting what they said, we can't be all that we can be. We need to dismiss those voices and allow ourselves to grow into the godhood of our stature. That's the stature of our being. We are the light of the world. We are the salt of the earth. And we're not meant to hide our light under a bushel. So this morning, I'd like you to think with me about the one I am that you feel has limited you the most. I know for a long time, I had a number of I ams until I looked at them individually and found out, is it true? Is it true because I want it to be? Is it something that I've accepted? Is it something I need to question? Life is an inside job. Happiness is an inside job. Growth is an inside job, if it's real. Now, you can get people, particularly people in my profession, ecclesiastical authorities, people that are in authority that tell you and point to you that say, you should do this, you should do that, you should be this way, you should be that way. How many times have we seen therapists' offices or doctors' offices filled with people who are trying to live somebody else's life because they accepted the words of someone who, not necessarily having that person's interest at heart, but had the interest at heart of projecting and protecting their opinion about how that person should live and be. I'm saying we have a whole lot of voices in our heads. And it pays to take a moment, probably every day, to realize and think about what voice is this. Now, there's a cacophony of voices we hear because it's also outside stimulation. There's television, news, and radio, and all like this. But then there's this general idea of who we think we are behind all of that. It's self-image. Dr. Maxwell Maltz talked about this. Our Concept Therapy Institute, right across the street, talks about the concepts that we live. The Edgar Cayce Institute talks about growing into the stature of who we are without, Mark Thurston talked about this in his book, Edgar Cayce Handbook for Creating Your Best Future. The images that we present outside are also those that we have inside. It's within, so without. That's a very important concept. You see, so selfishness is not what I'm talking about. Self-fullness is what I'd like to talk to you about. We even hear the words, it's when we're young especially, don't be so full of yourself. Well, if you're not full of yourself and you're not full of all you can be, who's going to? You're going to be buffeted around by opinion and by the concepts of other people. I'd like this year, and I'd like for you all to know this year, that you can stake a different claim and walk a different direction. That what has been passed does not necessarily prologue to the future. And that at any time, you can stake your claim to walk in another way. Notice I've used stake your claim twice. A very great book by Emmett Fox, very thin book, talking about staking your claim to the good that's in your path when you accept it. There's always something that you can do. And you know what that is? You can change your thinking. You can change your self-concept. Now, it may have been built up over a lifetime. And it probably has. And it's probably not going to change right away, but getting in the way, putting yourself in the path of growth is what you want to do. And how do you do that? In large part by doing what we're doing right now, by gathering together with like-minded people, by finding mentors and coaches and people who uphold the best in you. But more importantly than anything is going in and finding those hidden hurts that you've allowed to be placed there yourself. And I think 9 times out of 10 you'll find the voices you hear that hold you back sound like someone in your past. I remember I had that with a particularly critical teacher at elementary school. And I found myself at the age of 45 talking to myself the same way she did years ago. I thought, who is this? And all of a sudden, I backed up and I said, I want to know who these competing voices are in my head. Went to my father and told him that I'm hearing these different voices. I think he thought that I was maybe having some kind of breakdown. But I said, no, Dad, it's not that. I just hear these voices that sound like you. You were a teacher, and that's good. But I hear my 3rd grade teacher, and then I hear a coach, and they all say different things. My father said something very important to me I'll never forget. He said, what do you think? I said, I don't know who the you is yet. And I hadn't figured out, I hadn't known what really came from me and what I accepted or what was a blend of the two. This morning, I'd like for you to think about the blend of voices in your head and really what proceeds from you and what you're acting out because you've heard somebody else say that's the way it should be. People want us to make them comfortable. Have you thought of that? Have you noticed that when you step out of the lines that you may have established for yourself and you walk in a different way, there are going to be people around you that are a little bit uncomfortable. They might even tell you that you're asking for a challenge and that, you know, I've seen other people do what you're doing and it hasn't always turned out right. And when you begin to separate yourself and walk above the collective opinion, you are shining a mirror to those who haven't done the same thing and wish they could and spend their time projecting those dreams and those wishes, the unfulfilled dreams and wishes that they have onto you. So what you have to do is back up and say, what's really me? What have I accepted that I shouldn't, that I could let go, that I would have let go if I'd known better at the time? What keeps me from being all I can be? Well, ultimately, It's not really those folks and those voices in your head. And it's not really the events that you've gone through and the circumstances that you've endured. Who's made you who you are is ultimately you. That's your responsibility. But it's a joyous, wonderful responsibility. Isn't it wonderful to find aspects of yourself that you didn't even know exist? I found out that I had a love for classical art that I never did when I was a younger person, just by exposing myself to it. I kept saying, I'm not going to walk into that art museum. It's just going to bore me. I know what I like. And I turned around and walked in it one day, and I was just mesmerized by things. And it was like I discovered a new world. As long as you draw breath, as long as you are able to appreciate the moment, there is something in the moment to be appreciated, even if it's a thought. And I want to encourage you to have the best and highest thoughts about yourself and about your life today, right now. Not at some future time, but right now, because today is the gift you're given. So if you need to forgive somebody or a group of somebodies for things that they have put on you, and we've all heard that story, don't put your junk on me, because that happens. But if you have to extricate yourself from that, do it. It's worth it. It's worth it because if you don't, you're living someone else's life, not your own. You're living a collective group of someone else's life and calling it your own. What does your heart strain vibrate to? What is the thing that you feel inside if you could just only let this out, I could be more of me? That's the God force in you, wanting you to unwrap the gift that's you. Not somebody else's gift, yours. Not somebody else's life, yours. As I've been a pastoral counselor, I've heard the story too many times where people have sat across from me living someone else's life, broken by it, and feeling defeated and hurt by it, and saying that too much time has passed and that they can't be what they want to be. And I've always said the same thing. The moment is fresh and new. You get to change your thoughts if your ego will allow you. And you see, I think ego is a great enemy of spiritual growth because it wants to be protected. We want to sort, the ego wants to sort, judge, categorize, and make sense of what it sees as a basically fearful and insecure world. And so it's very difficult to make this change when we're carrying around that group of ideas that are self-limiting. And they have generally been preceded by I am, or I've always, or I've never. Take it any way you want, but it's self-limiting. Put anything in front of it, rather, it's self-limiting. And the self that I'm talking about, that you can be more of, is the one that's free of judgment, that is new every moment, and that is unconditional love. So if you have unconditional love for yourself, you're going to show that to other people. If you judge yourself and you're hard on yourself, you're going to show that to other people. This new year, I'd like for each one of you to make the determination for yourself that you're going to be self-directed in ways that you haven't in the past, and drop a concept that you may have that has limited you. When I mentioned the ego being the enemy, you may think that that was hyperbole. Let me say, I don't think I say it strongly enough. The ego is something that we're born with that looks away from what we really are. It's kind of like we're a mixture. We have the divine impulse and presence in us, and then we have this fearful, limited self, largely constructed from a young age. And it seems that these two forces are in battle with each other all the time. And the ego is the one that screams out, I am a body. I have to be aware and scared of this world that is out to get me. But the unconditional love that you are, the God self says, I am with you always. And matter of fact, in Scripture, lo, I am with you always, even unto the end of the world. Of course, the miracle says, if you knew who walked beside you every moment of the day, you could never be scared again. So if you trust the presence, you can trust the process. But if you trust the small self, you're going to trust in if you have no trust, you're going to have an insecure experience. And I want for each of you, those that are tuning in, I want for each of you the life more abundant. And if you have to change your mind about what that means, then do so. Because as it was said so long ago, if you want to get to the fruit of the tree, you have to go out on a limb. And the limb that you may feel is going to break may be the very thing, though you do it trembling, may be the very thing where the fruit of what you want is right there for your grasp. If you can give up the fear and the anxiety and the chatter of the small self that seeks to keep you in bondage to the way things have always been. I don't know about you, but I want the life more abundant. Whatever it is that presents itself to me, whatever it is that I'm going through, I know that there is a lesson in it. And I also know that essentially, no matter what it is, I'm okay. And the more that I feel I'm okay, the more I'm going to show that outside, the more I'm going to help heal someone else. You ever seen two angry people? Those are two people that are their egos are clashing. Ego, there's that word. And I don't mean it in the way of like, you did a good job, or I'm proud of you, or, we talk about stroking the ego. We all like to hear compliments. I'm talking about the ego with a capital E that is in direct contradiction to our spiritual lives and nature. All of us have ego. Some of us have issues that are large with it, some small, some in between. What I'm saying this morning is, if you can step away from those limiting, accusatory, judgmental, condemning voices that you hear about yourself and other people, and even for a moment or an instant, grab on to what is higher and best that you hear, whether it's here, whether it's in a book, a tape, a video, whatever it may be. Take it and work it. And I'd say this, when you hear it and it resonates with you, give it a fair shot. Remember, a lot of things took a lot of time to build up in you. It's not necessarily going to go away overnight, because life in this plane of existence is strung out in linear time. If we could step back from it like a mosaic, we could see that it was all perfect when it's over with. Ultimately, it was all designed for our growth and our advancement and our unfoldment. But as we are in this plane of existence, we walk one day at a time. What a wonderful way to live. One day at a time, sometimes one moment at a time. Being in forgiveness, hopefully, of ourselves and other people, and unwrapping the present that you are. And doing that in a spirit of wanting to learn more about who you really are. The limitations, the lack thoughts, the negativities, all those that are part of the ego can be walked away from with the decision to say, and this is a tough one, I might have been wrong. I might have gotten this wrong impression. We could go on down the line of things that we don't like to admit. None of us likes to say, I was wrong, or I could have done it differently and will do it differently. We don't like to say those things because it connotes the fact that we feel as insecure inside as outside as we really feel on the inside. In other words, we're showing ourselves all the time. We're showing who we are, whether we know it all the time. And if we're putting up a fake, blustery front, it's going to be known. People know that. But cool, calm, quiet resolution that comes from following the truth of your being It's a road you can walk every day of your life without bluster, without fanfare, simply knowing who and whose you are. So whatever your challenge today, whatever brings you to the spot that you're in, I want you to know it's perfect for your growth. It was designed by you, believe it or not, by the God force that's in you for your own advancement. You're just where you need to be. And if you're tuning in to us here, you especially where you need to be. You expect me to say that because I love these people and I love this church, but you're here by divine appointment. You're going to hear something, or something's going to touch you inside that tells you that yes, I resonate to this message of expansion inside my real self. Now, ego expansion, where you're just collecting information and you're not going to do much with it, or you're blowing yourself or false self up, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about something that reaches down into your heart and touches you and knows and reminds you that you were meant for bigger and better things, destined for greater things than you're experiencing right now. So as a new year begins, I hope that you unwrap this present that you are daily. It not only enriches your life, it enriches the rest of our life, because when we're living from our true selves, we're going to be loving and caring and sharing with one another. And when we run across those who aren't doing the same thing, we can say, that's a part of myself that I've recognized, and it's part of the collective human experience, and it's okay for me to release that. See, in large part, we're mirrors to one another. So I call on you today, release it, let it go. We burned the negative messages in our burning bowl ceremony on Saturday night. It was wonderful to watch them go up in flames. It signified the idea that all we need to do to begin again is to make a decision to step in that direction. And so we did. And this morning, this first Sunday of the new year, I call on all of us to think of the greatest thing that moves us on the inside, that we may not have thought about, we may have been scared to think about over the years, over our lifetime. The very thing that you're holding back because you don't think you can do is the very thing the rest of us needs to see you do, because we're going to inspire one another. And that's how we lift ourselves up out of negativity, not by fiat, not by preachment, but by lovingness, by kindness, by showing each other the very best that we have inside. And we have the best inside because we have the birth of the Christ self that we just celebrated. I know that it is wonderful to celebrate the birth of Jesus, but it's extraordinary to live the life that he said we're able to do. The life more abundant, the life that is more expansive and bigger and better than you've ever thought you can be. Find that thing inside you that moves you. And listen to the voices who are saying competing things about that. And recognize which ones of them are true and which ones of them need to be released in order for you to step into 2022 in a new way for a new day. I salute Christ in all of you. I affirm that the very best comes out of you, starting right now. I affirm that old limiting ideas and concepts fall away from you, and that you stand in the truth of your being, and you feel that mighty force that says, I can and I will. If it comes from self-forgiveness, wonderful. If it comes from making a new decision, marvelous. Whatever it takes for you to be authentic, for you to live the life you want, whatever that takes, I support. And if it means deconstructing beliefs of a lifetime, it has to start somewhere. It's your life. Live it the way you want. The God force is with you. The force is with you. Happy New Year to each one of you. And I declare the very best for all of us. And so it is. Amen.
take very many. It can be just 2 or 3, and I feel that same sweet thrill that I felt oft times before. Surely I can say I've been with the Lord. Surely the presence of the Lord is in this place. I can feel His mighty power and His grace. I can feel His touch of angels' wings. I hear glory on His face. Surely the presence of the Lord is in this place. Surely the presence of the Lord is in this place. I can feel His mighty power and His grace. I can hear the brush of angels' wings. I see glory on each face. Surely the presence of the Lord is in this place.
Knowing that the presence of truth and wonder and majesty is in this place and in us, we relax this moment, take a deep breath. We're aware and alert of where we are. We're in a place right now of unconditional love. It flows through us, and it releases, it takes away everything that is unlike itself. Some feel this presence as a golden ball of light, the very center of their being. The God presence that you commune with right now is present for you. And its beautiful healing light fills your entire being. And in this place, you know it's safe to let go of limiting concepts about yourself, about your life, about what is yours to do. In this holy presence, we affirm the newness, the freshness, the vitality, the joy of being. We know that can only be experienced right now. And so as we let those limiting ideas fall away into the nothingness from whence they came, we're aware of a new strength and a new power, wonderful power, a loving presence, unconditional love that says that I am here with you always. And so in this presence, you know it's safe to relax and let go what you know has limited you. And healing of whatever kind that you need is taking place right now, whether it's mentally, emotionally, or in the body. You're healed and whole and capable and strong. And this new year, as you make new decisions for yourself, you carry this presence, this force with you. You're aware of it more often. You consult it more often. You allow it to wrap you in the softness and the beauty and the wonder of love. And I declare that your life is everything that you want it to be by your decisions right now. To release the lesser and embrace the greater. We give thanks for this ever-renewing, ever-healing, and ever-loving presence and power. And so it is. Amen. Your gifts and offerings are what enable us to continue to do our work in ministry here, and we have quite an online presence, and there are many things that you can take advantage of. I'm sure those who are tuning in, you know about our Course in Miracles group that meets on Wednesday evenings, our Pathfinders group on Thursdays, our online book studies, both Sunday and Sunday evening rather. We offer these, and it takes your financial help to do it. I want to encourage you to give your best gift to affirm the truth of sowing and reaping. What you give, you receive abundantly. You receive it back. I hope that you'll right now recognize that it feels wonderful to give. That you know that when you do that, you feel expansive. And we certainly appreciate it as we expand our ministry and our presence here, not only online, but in person. The PayPal button is at the bottom of your page. I invite you to press that right now, giving the best gift you're able. If you prefer to send your gift, you can do that by sending it to Unity of Boerne, P.O. Box 1973, Boerne, Texas 78006. That's Unity of Boerne, P.O. Box 1973, Boerne, Texas 78006. And now we join the celebration of giving. Together we say, divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive, and I send it forth with my blessings and my love. And so it is.
Nicole, the service is always more with you. We're going to stand and make a circle and we're going to sing this song.
There be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be. With God as Creator, family all are we. Let us walk with each other in perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me. Let this be the moment now. With every step I take, let this be my joyous vow. To drink each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me.
Together,
The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well.
Namaste. Namaste.